The reality is that you cannot get anywhere in business, not nowhere meaningful, until your mind is right. If your head isn't right, then you can have all the tactics in the world, you can have all the knowledge, all the most amazing understanding of stuff, but you become useless and impotent in actually making progress. And interestingly, what I've also discovered over the years is that if your mind is right, then you can have a really crappy tactic, but still actually make the most of it. And what we're going to do today is we're going to address this bedrock of all entrepreneurial success, which is what goes on in between your two ears. But come with me on this journey, because and certainly if you've been around in business for a long time, what you will all recognize and understand is that knowing something is very different to actually doing it. And if we could, in some way, release ourselves from the mental shackles that hold us back, the truth is that the progress we've made with our businesses would be dramatic and radical, because there's a massive momentum that comes when you take control of what's going on in your own head. When you genuinely are at the steering wheel, setting the direction, controlling the movements, and not allowing your head to take you off down all the dead ends and all the wrong turns and all the false perspectives that our brains are so wonderful at creating for us. And none of us escape this, just to be clear. We all wrestle with the demons in one form or another. Think like a computer. I'm a very emotional person, in truth. It's impossible not to know how I'm feeling. Just ask my team what things were like at 7:20 this morning. But I do recognize that in business, I have to think like a computer. And this is quite a big kind of secret, this. I have told it before. I called it binary thinking. Because binary code, remember from our maths at school, it's all ones and zeros. There's nothing else in binary. It's either 1 or it's 0. There is nothing else. It's 1 or a 0. Everything is made up of binary. So it's black or it is white. And if we are able to think binary in our business, it helps us hugely. It really does help us a great deal. So examples of binary thinking. So for instance, you and your business, you are either measurably moving towards your goal or you are failing. And I say that with great confidence, because if you stand still in this day and age, the truth is the world's moving on, and therefore you are sliding back down the field. Binary thinking. Are you measurably moving towards your goal? In my world, there are two types of people. And my response in every way to those two types of people is very different. So there are members of Entrepreneur Circle, and there are non-members of Entrepreneur Circle. Now, I listen to and care about one of those groups significantly more than the other, because it's binary thinking, because the members are a 1 and the non-members are a 0. Now that's important, because we all get feedback, we all get opinions, we all get views and perspectives. But some of those views and perspectives and opinions are way more important to you than others. Some you should pay attention to, some you should ignore. Knowing which is an example of binary thinking. There are only two activities in business, arguably, that one should be pursuing. There are activities that measurably yield money, and there are activities that don't measurably yield money. Now, key word there is measurably. Now, I do recognize that as business owners, we have to do stuff that doesn't directly or measurably yield money. The problem is, for a lot of people in business, The vast majority of people running businesses in the UK is that they spend way too much of their time doing stuff that doesn't yield money. And the price they pay for that is a poorer business, a more fragile business, a diminished lifestyle. Recognizing on a daily basis, as your computer brain would do, that there needs to be time spent today, every day, on activity that yields money. Because the reality is, most people in this room have multiple days each week when you don't spend time on activity that measurably yields money. Now, the price you pay for that is significant because it's very hard much harder to move the business forward. You're either making money or you're losing money. As entrepreneurs, and I'll talk about this a bit later on, we're really good at kidding ourselves. We can convince ourselves that what we're doing is really worthwhile, that we're pursuing some kind of higher agenda or some bigger thing or bigger purpose. But if at the end of the month your management accounts show that you burnt through some cash last month, that your P&L's got a minus number at the bottom of it, you're losing money. And that has to be addressed. And your failure to address it only leads one way. Yet there are lots of businesses, plenty in the EC, that are stumbling and bumbling along because of their failure to grasp binary thinking. With binary thinking, it's either a yes or it's a no. Indecision, procrastination, putting things off till later is a cancer when you're running your own business. And the speed of your decision-making, in truth, that's not one of my strategies today, but it probably could be and should be. But when you deploy binary thinking into everything that goes on in your life, that's how I do it. Is this a yes or a no? You know, should we do this or should we do that? Let's do that. And your ability to actually not just understand binary thinking, but then start to deploy it can have a dramatic impact. And it's not just about the hiring of one person, but it's about the implications that this process has for the way your business will operate. And thinking about, is it a yes or is it a no, is a really smart thing. Now, just to be clear, there are occasions when you need to have a sleep on it and have a think about it and come back to it later. I do recognize that. This is not an absolute, but the thinking about it and coming back to it later should be the exception as opposed to the rule. And it's that needs to be swept around. You're either growing or you're dying. The numbers will tell you. It's not what goes on in your head. It's not how you feel about it. You're either growing or you're dying. You pick the number that matters most. I mean, turnover is significant. Profits more significant. Your drawings, the amount of money moving from the company bank account into your bank account each month should be growing if you're at the helm of a successful, profitable business. Binary thinking will help you get there. Because despite there is no status quo. That in business, we're not. If we're staying as we are, we're shrinking, we're dying. And in order to consistently grow, that requires us to be mercilessly honest with ourselves. And most of us aren't mercilessly honest with ourselves. It's like, you're in business on your own. Good news, you're your own boss. Bad news, you're your own boss. Because there's no one holding your feet to the fire. Even at home, your loved ones, your spouse, your partner, the people that you care about, they're not very good at this. They're not very good at it because they want to support you, they want to help you most of the time. You know, and that's not a great environment to ask the really difficult questions. And binary thinking helps because computers, everything is black and white. It either works or it doesn't. It's zeros or it's ones. And thinking like a computer can be really, really helpful. Does this activity make me money or not? Binary thinking. Is this person in my team contributing to what I want, or are they taking it away? Are they making my business stronger and better, or are they diminishing it? Because you know deep down, binary thinking helps you code that and contract it. Binary thinking. If I keep up these daily habits that I've got on now, am I going to get where I want to get to or not? Because you'll know. Because the path's set. So if you keep on as you are, where's it taking you? Is that where you want to get to? Binary thinking. Is this relationship, could be with a supplier, could be with an employee, could be with a customer. Is this relationship moving me forward, or is it actually taking me backwards? It's binary thinking. Does this energize me or drain me? Is binary thinking. When you see in black and white and you refuse to even think about the grey, it helps you hugely as a business owner, and it helps your mindset. Now, it does take effort, and it does take, conscious effort to get there. But everything you're looking at, is it a yes or is it a hell no? What are you going to do? Because a lot of decisions can be made really quickly when you get clear around this stuff here. So strategy number 2 to take control of your mindset, which, of course, is what takes control of your business, is for all of us to stop tolerating shit. My God, we put up with some stuff as business owners. Oh, my goodness. And I think part of it, this is, again, it's the flip side of the coin. Because we're very good at adapting, we have to be, to build any kind of success in business. We're actually quite good, certainly compared to the population at large. As entrepreneurs, we are typically very good at seeing the other person's perspective. And that's a really positive thing, but it can come back and bite us in spades. Because what happens is we end up putting up with stuff that we have no right to put up with, no expectation, and the price we pay for putting up with it is really, really huge. Now, for some of you, there's work in your business that you do that you dread doing. It doesn't energize you, and you should stop doing it immediately. Because prize number 1 when you run your own business is you get to do the things that you enjoy and are best at and that energize you. And if it doesn't, get someone else to do it. That's what we can do as a business owner. And what I've discovered, and this is why this gets in as my second piece today, and I've discovered that when it comes to business, your income, the cash, not the sales in your business, the income that you take out of your business is inversely proportional to what you tolerate. And the more you tolerate, the less you earn. And the less you tolerate, the more you earn. Now that's a little bit of binary thinking there. I mean, it's a little bit black and white. But my goodness me, I promise you that's true. There's very few people in this country who spend as much time as I do and get as much visibility into the businesses of as many entrepreneurs as I'm very fortunate enough to do. And I promise you this is true. This is like living and breathing organic research right now in this community, in this world, in this country. And there's too many people putting up with all sorts of shit, and the price they're paying for it is a diminished life. Forget about your earnings. It's all the mental baggage and pain and grief and all the weight of everyone else's problems. Stop it. You can liberate yourself in an instant if you become a bit less tolerant. I've phrased it another way. The more shit you tolerate, the less money you make. And the more shit you tolerate, the less happy you are. The people that I meet in business who are happy, it's a bit of a trite word, but hey, it's one of the most important words in the universe in that regard. The members that I meet in EC who are happy don't tolerate shit. They just don't put up with it. They deal with the problem. Sometimes that causes short-term pain. But the prize is the elimination of the long-term pain that so many others are putting up with. For some of you here today, and I know some of you are, the lights are quite bright and I can't look into many eyeballs on stage right now, but my goodness me, and you know you are as well because we have the conversations. There's some of you in this room, you don't need any more fancy marketing. Just stop putting up with the shit that you are tolerating that is holding you back, that is eking into every waking moment. Mark, we got one of our masterminders has got a particularly challenging problem at the moment, and I don't go into the details. Nothing to do with work at all. It's a horrible problem domestically, but it is very clear what she should do, but her psyche is stopping her from doing it. And I'm trying to help her, and Martin Norbury is trying to help her as well. And Martin sent her a little email, and I'm going to read it out to you because this might be quite impactful for some of you in the room. So a little story, it'll only take a moment. A lecturer walked around a room whilst teaching stress management. Okay, that's the class that she's teaching. And she raised a glass of water in the air. Now everyone thinks they're going to ask, oh, is it half full or is it half empty? That's not what she asked. She said, how heavy is this glass of water? And answers were all sorts of answers were raised out from, 50 grams, 100 grams, half a kilogram, all sorts were raised out. And what she said was, the absolute weight of this glass of water doesn't matter. It depends on how long I hold it for. If I hold it for a minute, it's not a problem. If I hold it for an hour, my arm's going to be aching. If I hold it for a day, I'll lose all feeling in my arm. It'll be numb. I'll be paralyzed. I won't do anything else. But in each case, the weight of the glass doesn't change. But the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes. The stresses and worries in life, she said, are like this glass of water. Think about them for a while and nothing happens. Think about them for a bit longer and they begin to hurt. And if you think about them all day long, you become paralyzed, incapable of doing anything. It's really important to let go of your stresses, was the message. And it struck a real chord with me to that. Because there's a lot of people in this room carrying a lot of glasses of water. Now, binary thinking helps you deal with it. Do you know? I can get rid of this glass of water really easily. Fuck it, it's gone. That's disgraceful. I just threw water on the floor. But it's gone. It's dealt with. I'm liberated. Already my arm feels better. There's no downside. There's a few glasses of water need to be metaphorically chucked on the floor and left alone in this room, and you'll know what your glasses of water are. Stop tolerating pain. Stop tolerating shit. Take control of your life, because your mindset can do it. Now, they're my first two foundation blocks, okay? Next up, number 3, a little bit more obvious. I'm just going to have to refill my glass of water now because I actually need a drink. Mind you, by the way, that is what happens, isn't it? Because no sooner do you solve one problem, another one emerges. But we'll cover that off this afternoon. But having some clear objectives makes a really, really big difference. And the number one kind of challenge that we hear a lot in EC is, I'm overwhelmed, there's too much to do. And but that's because you haven't got a really clear-cut objective. And I really struggle to relate to that overwhelm thing, because I am always crystal clear, even on a daily basis. I know what I've got to do, and it's the classic kind of burning building scenario, isn't it? If we find out that the building really is on fire, our objective becomes getting out of the building and getting everybody else out of the building as well, and we don't have to worry about other things that have to happen. And but when you sit down, when you go into work on your place of work on a daily basis, and you haven't got a clear-cut objective because you left work yesterday or last Friday or before you went on a holiday, whenever you last were in the workplace, you went away without having planned the following day, because in my world, today ain't over till tomorrow is planned. So I always know what I've got to do. So there's a list, and in truth, my list is always, I never get everything done. I never, ever get everything done, but I've got really, really clear-cut objectives. And when you've got a really clear-cut objective, everything changes. When you sit down without an objective, without a really clear aim, you end up procrastinating, you know? If you come in, creating marketing is an interesting element. We had a situation last week, and long story, I had an hour to do 3 videos. Well, that's actually loads of time. But the same is true. Oh, it's all right for you, Nigel, you know how to do video. Well, yeah, I've had a bit of practice. I've done a few of them. That's true. But again, if I play it back, if if your life depended on getting 3 videos recorded before you had lunch today, none of you would go hungry, let alone die. You'd all get it done. It's just that the objective's not sufficiently clear. And there's no binary thinking being deployed here. It's not like, and things, because things, it all goes grey and things stretch out. And the objective I'm talking about, I'm not talking about necessarily, big life goals or big plans for the business. The clarity of objective I'm talking about in number 3 can be as simple as like, what are you going to achieve today? Which money-making activities are you going to not just spend time on, but actually complete today? Because no one's accusing any of us as entrepreneurs. We all work really hard. We can't leave our businesses behind. We take it home of an evening. We're always thinking about it. We're on our phones. We're doing stuff all the time. Our activity would fill that folder. If it was passed round this room now, and on there was the list, here's what John Price is doing, here's what Christine's, look at all this stuff, look at how impressive it all is. But if we pass around the folder of all the things you've actually achieved in the last month, the truth is it'd be a much smaller file. There would be stuff in there, just to be clear. I do recognize stuff gets achieved. But when you start to have really clear, I'm going to achieve this week, or today, or this month, and start short. Don't worry in the beginning about a long way out. I'll talk about that a bit later on. But in the beginning, just start, because these little goals add up. These little goals add up. And me and Steve we have a little, it's become a little routine on a Friday. And we just reflect on the only moment. It only takes a couple of minutes. But how's it been this week? How do we score this week? And it's amazing when you start, we had clear objectives. Do you know what? Done. Fucking brilliant week, Steve. Have a great weekend. Because we got the things done. We didn't work on them. We didn't, move the things around a little bit. We didn't make a little bit of progress. We achieved the objectives that were clear-cut. And it's a big, big thing. And it changes your whole mental perspective on your business. It changes the momentum that you feel. Everything about it. When you start just set small objectives to begin with and start crossing them off. Because what you're telling your brain and what your brain is seeing, I'm an achiever. I get things done. I can move this forward. It removes all the doubt then about once you've delivered your objectives for 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row, there's no doubt about week 5 because you've become a person that delivers their objectives. But when you don't even write them down, when your working life is just a pile of stuff, well, that's when it becomes clogged up. It becomes really hard. This is an interesting one, and I see this all the time. And we saw a little bit of it last night, actually. And I've got a little extra, which hopefully is going to pull off here, because if Nigel's brain is in the room, now's a really good time. That's excellent. Okay, that's good. Right. So in a couple of minutes, we're going to be on. So what I've discovered is our brains lie to us, that our brains are arseholes, honestly. And what we have to do is we have to not listen to our brains quite a lot of the time. Because our brains are really good at throwing us all sorts of rubbish. And they're very good at applying absolutes to us. So this is real life, okay? This is my brain. So I need you to understand, just to be clear, I am no different to anybody else in this room. My brain lies to me. My brain is a complete asshole at times. Or I have to battle my brain on a regular basis. You have to be the opposing counsel. I need that slide up. It's a really important slide. You have to be the opposing counsel when your brain feeds you crap. You have to challenge what has brought this about. Because that is exactly what happened to me. Your ability to cross-examine your brain is one of the things that helps get you to the accurate thinking, which was number 5. Does that make sense? So that made sense, me bringing that forward to do now rather than wait until later on. So cross-examining your brain is a really useful thing. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And you do it just like I did it then, because you just look for the facts. You just look for the facts. And if you're using binary thinking, it becomes relatively straightforward. So if you cross-examine your brain and you just take opinion, well, you'll end up back where you started. It'd be a waste of time. But if you cross-examine your brain by looking at the facts, you will be surprised how often it takes you to a different place to which you started. Okay, so number 6 on our mindset strategies then is we have to be much more conscious than most people are about what you are feeding your mind. And I quite like that little picture there. That is a security guard. I mean, you ain't going through those doors, are you? You know, that the guy has got those doors covered. And we need a kind of a guard, a doorman, a security guy at the entrance to our minds, because the reality is our energy, our minds, our thoughts, they're all under attack, like all the time. So we have to be really careful what we are feeding our minds if what our role in life is to build a successful business. You know, the mainstream media in particular, you know, love nothing more than to create, you know, situations of doom and gloom. You know, we're all going to die. Now, we're all human, and we can't hear those things repeatedly, consistently, and not be affected by them. You know, there are who you're paying attention to and following on Instagram or on Facebook on the streams is a big factor. It's a big factor. And taking conscious control of what you feed your mind is a really important strategy to manage your mindset. And your mindset has to be managed if you are able to get anywhere close to achieving your potential. And you have to make a stand for what you want to put into your mind and then stick to it. And that's very different what this is about. I'm not saying, oh, you should read. It's way more than that. It's about consciously thinking to begin with and then executing what should you read. And I say for read, I recognise now that may be listen to. It may be watch even, because there's all sorts of stuff flying around that can be helpful. But what happens is most people are not conscious about this, and they don't have a reading plan at all. You know, they'll pick up things. If someone says something, oh, that's interesting, they might go and get a book, or they might download a podcast. But there's no strategy to it. It's ad hoc. Now, why would you, if you get the logic and the power of the strategy, what the strategy is saying is take control of it. Actually spend a little bit of time just getting clear on, well, what is it that you are going to read? What is it? And you know, and what's the purpose of that? Because if you start feeding your mind with intelligent, empowering information on a daily basis, oh my goodness, that does make a heck of a difference to your mindset. It's a really, really key thing for me. Really key thing for me, because I am fed every day mentally, and I'm conscious about what I'm feeding myself. I recognized a long time ago that I had to make some choices about who I listen to, who I pay attention to. Because in my space, in terms of marketing and business growth, I mean, there's loads of people. I mean, I genuinely could spend every waking hour consuming information. So I have to make some choices. I can't do that, but I need something going in. So I unsubscribed. I deleted and stepped away from some people and made the conscious decision to go deeper with some others. And doing the same would be a really smart thing for many of you to do as well. So a conscious reading program helps hugely to take control of what's going on, because it's about reinforcing and embedding the right things. You know, you have to decide what you are willing to give. I know, there's friends of mine, there's people in my family, pity me. Some of them judge me, because I work really hard. I work really, really hard. And they can't relate to that, and they don't understand that. And the situation is really, very simple. I'm prepared to do what it takes to achieve what I want to achieve. And just to be clear, I'm not judging here, because it's absolutely okay not to decide that. It's absolutely okay to decide that you're only prepared to commit a certain number of hours, or that other things in your life are more important and have a higher priority. It is absolutely okay. But understanding that and doing it consciously liberates your mindset, because now there's context to what you want to achieve, and that's absolutely okay. my context is kind of an absolute, which at one level is helpful, but another level isn't. Back to Napoleon Hill. The strength of someone's desire is determined by what he or she is willing to do to obtain it. And I've played this with my kids quite a few times. Okay, they want this. Well, okay, how much will you do? What will you do? How far will they go? And you find out how much somebody wants it. And it's definitely the case in business. So you answering this question honestly will be really helpful. How far am I willing to go to make this happen? There could be other things as well that have to be put in the mix in order to get you to where you want to get to. One of them is knowing what you won't do. What are you not prepared to do? Where are your red lines? And getting clear on those can help you hugely, because you can then stay away from them. And again, the mindset becomes much easier to manage because you've decided what you're willing to give, and by definition, therefore, what you're not willing to give. Now, I'm not into all this. I'm a straight-talking Yorkshireman, and I don't buy into all this woo-woo stuff, but I do recognize the truth in this one here. Your ability to actually see yourself getting where you want to get to. Because you can't get what you want until you know what it is that you want. And when you know what it is that you want, it's not that big a step to be able to close your eyes and see yourself achieving that goal. And in that regard, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, and again, probably because we're quite practical people, and it sometimes can be seen as a bit kind of woo-woo. But from my place, it's really straightforward. What do I want to achieve? What's the goal? I understand, why do I want that? We'll talk about that in a minute too. Why is it important to me? Because that'll help define how far I'm prepared to go to get it, what I'm prepared to do. All right, what's the plan then to get that goal? What are the steps? What needs to happen? And then, can I see myself achieving it? Now, that can be broken down in all sorts of different ways. I mean, the goal could be a holiday. It could be a business where you're not working so many days. It could be a balance in your bank account that allows you to, your other half to stop work, or whatever it might be. But understand the goal and why that's important to you, and then pull the plan together and have, at least in your mind's eye, this picture of yourself achieving it, because it's hugely helpful. Because when the shit hits the fan and the bad stuff happens, you'll need that vision to fall back on. You'll need the clarity. And it isn't woo-woo. Take it from, as I say, a kind of a straight-talking Yorkshire guy. This stuff makes a big difference. In my experience, women have a tendency to do this more than men, but we do all do it. We compare ourselves to others, and it's utterly futile and completely stupid. Especially if what you're trying to do is build, a successful business and a successful life as you define it for the people that matter to you. In that regard, the only one that you should be comparing yourself to is the version of yourself that you are capable of becoming and that you want to be. And I do recognize that this is really hard to do because it's like human nature to have one eye on like other people, the other guy. Your competitor, for instance, in business would be the example here. It might be, I don't know, it could be friends or family or people, but it is a waste of time and it serves no useful purpose. Because if you compare yourself to other people, you can only ever lose that game. You can never win that game because there'll always be someone, somewhere, that's better, that's done more or does it better, whatever the comparison might be. And it's much, much better to just focus on where you want to be and on getting yourself there. In terms of getting your head in the right place and fixing your mindset, hanging around with like-minded people is a really good thing to do. And that includes online, by the way. Botterill was in there in the book, 10 years ago now since I wrote that book. But who you hang around with matters a lot. And one of my little, I'd say proud things, it's quite a nice thing, but the head teacher at Solihull School quotes that in his end of year assembly every year. And he puts my little book up, and he talks about this. This is written by a father of the pupil of the school, but he talks about his message that he's sending his kids. They're off, leaving school, they're off to university, and off into the big wide world. And the message he wants to leave them with is who you hang around with matters a lot. Choose your associations in your new chapter very, very carefully, because they'll have a big, profound impact on you, is what he says in the school assembly. And he's right. He's absolutely right. And so it is for us in a business sense. It's absolutely the case. It's why it pains me so much that one of the downsides to putting in place the live streaming this year, that hopefully is working now. I hope the live stream is working now. I'm sorry about the technical problems earlier on. But with the live streaming, it's you miss out on the interactions and the associations, and they make such a difference to your mindset. Because when you're sat in your office or at home watching this, whether it's the live stream or it's the recording, whilst on one level you get all the rational stuff, but you miss out on all the associations and all the reinforcements that kind of come from that. And so what that means is, this is just one way of doing that, but it means as business owners, if you want to build a successful business, you have to avoid the average majority at all costs. At all costs, you have to avoid the average majority. Not because there's anything wrong with them, but they're not going to help you get to where you want to get to. And the average majority, by definition, is most people. Because most people don't live amazing lives. Most people are not in control of their destiny. Most people are not energized on a daily basis by the stuff that they do. Most people haven't got the money to do the things that they'd really want to do. But we have the potential to create that for ourselves, all of those things, and a lot more. But who you hang around with matters a lot. And spending time with people that have trodden the path that you want to go down, spending time with people that will challenge your thinking,